thank you very much for the invitation. In fact, I just replacing one collaborator of mine, that's Professor Dr. Bukeru Bahattin, that was supposed to come here this day. I can say that he also sent this or his talk if somebody is interested is about three-body system. Okay. So I decided just to report some work that we did together, just to keep inside the program also in some way. Okay. So it's I'm going to talk about the role of Coulomb breakup cross-section at subbarrier energies with beryllium-11 projectile on heavy target. This is a collaboration with UNISA, University of South Africa. Okay. That's so I do some resume introduction, and after I say something about the theoretical and numerical approach that we are using, and main results and conclusion. Okay. So that's considering the total fusion and breakup cross-sections in the interaction of the neutron hollow beryllium-11 project on the lead target 208. It is shown that even for the neutron hollow projectile, the breakup channel remains the most dominant reaction channel at subbarrier energies. This follows a characteristic behavior that was previously shown in the case of proton hollow, boron 8. So this is shown to occur due to the continuum coupling coming exclusively from this Coulomb component. The enhancement of the Coulomb breakup cross-section at subbarrier incident energies by the continuum coupling is speculated to be associated with the projectile breakup on the outgoing trajectory, provided these couplings can be proven to delay the breakup process. So that comes from a recent analysis by Yang et al. Of the boron 8 proton hollow nucleus reaction on a lead target at deep subbarrier energies, confirming previous measurement that done by Paco et al. That it has been reported that the breakup channel at this energy is the main reaction channel. So also by analyzing the effect of Coulomb polarization on the proton hollow state, one can infer that the prompt breakup mechanism occurs predominantly on the outgoing trajectory. So this corroborates a conclusion that was done before by Mooker and this group that the breakup of the projectile occurs in the outgoing trajectory. It is being emphasized also by Yang et al. The relevance of elucidating the long-standing question of the breakup dynamics in the proton hollow nucleus. So we aim to explore an extension of previous studies of proton hollow reaction on heavy target by considering a neutron target projectile, so to prove the possible universality of the of previous conclusion. So we consider the breakup dynamics of the S-wave neutron hollow nucleus on a lead target at Coulomb subbarrier and around barrier incident energy. The main goal was to verify whether for deep subbarrier incident energy, the breakup cross-section remains dominant over the total fusion cross-section. So this is a report about some more details are in this paper here. Okay. So I say something about a brief theoretical approach about CDCC formalism. This was done already, I think, by Lubian and some other people before. But anyway, I just put the basic thing here just to remind. So, but if we want to go more details about this, is the paper that all the details can be found. Okay. So in our numerical approach, so we use the CDCC continuous discretized coupled channels formalism once the total wave function is expanded on the projectile boundary state and beam states. A truncated set of coupled differential equations of the radial part of the wave function is obtained, which contains the coupling, these coupling elements here. Okay. These are the details only that are given about the position of the, we have the core valence target and core target, where valence can be neutron or proton. Okay, that's the position in the geometry of that we have. And here is the mass factor. No? So this is basically the wave function, how it appears there. And here are inside you have contains the square integral of the beam wave functions also, no? Which are expressed by this format here. Yeah. These are the main Schrödinger equation with these factors that I have shown before, and that has the beam energies, okay? So the coupling matrix elements can be split into couplings to and from the bound state in two parts here that we have here, okay? And coupling among the continuum state given by that format here. Evaluate subject to the boundary conditions. Let's see here. Okay. Where these are Coulomb-Wankel functions, and usually that is in the CDCC approach. No? That is the details about the mass factor, and there also the nuclear projectile atomic mass number that is there. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is projected reduced mass no, of the beam energy. So this, with this reaction, the cross section can be directly obtained from the scattering matrix, the breakup cross section. Okay. Where the J is the total angular momentum associated with the core nuclear relative motion, and K is the initial relative momentum, which is related to the final relative momentum. Where EB there is the ground state binding energy. This there. EB is the ground state binding energy. So the total fusion cross-section can be obtained as follows here. This is the total fusion, where they are dividing in many terms here, J to J max here, and that's the term that we have, where this factor here are the imaginary parts of the coupling matrix elements that contain, that contain the imaginary part of the potential U. So then they are responsible for the nuclear absorption. So these are the projectile target element with the real and imaginary parts here. And that the main reason is the fact here a selection of the projectile target potential necessary to calculate fusion breakup process on the same footing can prove to be challenging. The main reason is the fact that both cross-sections emanate from different dynamics. So quite often in the literature they use Wood-Saxton format for both here to model the real and imaginary potentials with these coordinates here. These are the factors that we have, the parameters are 0 and the 0. They are taken from literature in general that we can just adjust for the obtain the experimental fund. The 0 and are the depths of the real and imaginary parts. And these are the nuclear radii with this factor here, respectively the diffuseness. So that's the potential. The potentials are used to the off-shell of diagonal shell channels to couple the bound to continue and continue to channels. Okay. So in the last scattering channel, the real and imaginary parts of the optical potential represent expected values of this concerning the ground state of the projectile nucleus. So this function here is the ground state, and the projectile target here corresponds to the core target plus the valence target, or neutron, in our case, the neutron target here. Okay. That's the imaginary term, also split in two parts here. And so given the longer tail of the projectile nucleus, due to its low breakup threshold, the nuclear forces are extended well beyond the barrier radius through the tails of the VPT and WPT. The projectile target. As such, this V will result in lowering the Coulomb barrier, whereas this W will exhibit a long-range absorption behavior. Consequently, the total fusion obtained with this potential is expected to be much larger. So these are some details on the numerical parameter. Just a minute. Just a minute. So on our calculation, because with the neutron halo projectile, nuclear beryllium-11 is modeled as a beryllium-10 plus a core neutron in which these neutrons in this state with L0 equals 0. L0 is the ground state orbital angular momentum associated with the core neutron relative motion. The binding energy is about 0.5 MeV. There is also an excited state that has to be described by the model that minus 0.18 for L0 equal 1, P state, and a narrow resonance also. So we take from Capel et al. Most of these parameters. The parameters for the real and imaginary parts of the core target optical potential parameters using the construction of the projectile target coupling matrix elements. So these are the parameters. And to obtain the fusion cross-section comparable with the available experimental data and test how the total fusion cross-section is overestimating the long-range imaginary potential, we will perform another set of calculations where we replace the long-range factors here, imaginary term, by short-range ones. This is just to compare and to see how it affects the absorption. However, by calculating the long and the short-range imaginary potential, our interest is to verify where the breakup cross-section remains larger than the fusion cross-section at incident energy below the Coulomb barrier. So for solving the coupled differential equation emanating from the projectile target three-body equation, various numerical parameters were optimized. So finally, the numerical calculations were performed with computer fresco codes that's already in this reference that's in our paper there. Now, in the next figure here, I'm going to just sample of the convergence test that we did before going to the main problem that we have. So these are the maximum factor that we have here. So for the energy here, the mean energies, we go to the maximum till 8 here just to see how it is, the convergence is. So it can be shown that even with 4 and 6 already a good convergence. And also for L maximum, we have a good convergence. So these are the convergence results for the differential breakup cross-section in terms of the maximum core neutron excitation energy. So the main results and discussion, now we go after describing that, how well our numerical result can describe experimental data is shown in next figure for the differential breakup cross-section with 140 MeV. So that is shown here. So this is a comparison with the experimental data here of the theoretical computed breakup cross-section with the corresponding experimental data measured at 140 MeV. For that, we have observed that figure 2 shows also that breakup and total fusion as function of the ratio between the total energy and potential barrier height, VB. The same potential parameters were applied in both calculations to obtain the breakup. So one observed that at sub-barrier energy, the breakup is dominating over the total fusion. So the transition occurs around the Coulomb barrier where the total fusion prevails. So therefore, one can infer that even in the case of a neutron halo weakly bound projectile, the breakup channel remains the dominant reaction at sub-barrier energy. That's shown here, for example. That's for the total fusion that we have. And you can see here the total fusion is this one here, the red one, and it contains all coupling elements in the CDCC calculation. And that's for the breakup. The breakup, you can see that it's much higher than this here. So the breakup and total fusion cross-section as function of the incident energy is scaled by the Coulomb barrier with all different coupled channels, including the coupling matrix. As you will see here, just when we cross here, this part here of the VB, that below 1, that this becomes much larger than this. Okay, this is something that's already observed in case of proton coupling, but now it's the neutron charge. Okay, so it is interesting to see that even when long-range imaginary potentials are considered, which are known to increase the fusion cross-section, the breakup cross-section remains more important than its fusion counterpart, following previous conclusion on proton halo. So we do not expect the use of short-range imaginary potentials to reverse this trend at sub-barrier energy. But such potentials can be expected to push the transition point where the fusion cross-section becomes more important for large incident energy. So this result further suggests that the Coulomb barrier in the core proton system is not responsible for the importance of breakup over total fusion at sub-barrier energy, which implies that static effects related to the projectile ground state are not the main factors contributing to this phenomenon. And so, as argued before here, this leaves dynamical effects due to the projectile-target interaction as one of the main factors responsible for the importance of the breakup cross-section over the total fusion at sub-barrier energy. So to verify how the long-range imaginary potential overestimate the total fusion, we repeat the same calculation, but with the short-range ones, short-range imaginary potential, with results shown in the next figure that I'm going to show here. So by comparing with the result that we have before, it's noticed that the total fusion is largely suppressed with the breakup. Let me go back here. This is shown, for example, the fusion and breakup concept as a function of DCM obtained when the long-range imaginary part of the nuclear potential is replaced by the short-range one. So of course, in this case, you can see that this enhances even more that, the breakup, no? And the total fusion just going almost very, very low. No? So these are with the shorter range one replaced. Before we saw that already we have already enhanced as the breakup, but now it's even more. That's something expected. Okay. So the next figure we can see the effect of the continuum coupling by considering when they are removed from the coupling matrix element. It's leaving only a single transition to and from the projectile bound state. So a stark difference is observed from the case with all couplings at sub-barrier energy. Both breakup and total fusion cross-sections are almost similar. They become almost similar. So the CCC appears to be responsible for the quantitative importance of the breakup with the total fusion. So however, considering the fusion calculation as given in figure 4 before, with a short-range imaginary part in the nuclear potential, the total fusion, in the absence of the CCC, continuous coupling, would be lower than the breakup even at sub-barrier energy. So besides not giving a realistic picture, that figure points out the fact that even when CCC are removed, the gap between the two curves will be significantly narrower. That's shown here. Yeah. That we can show here without CCC. As you can see, they are practically similar here below the. So breakup and total fusion at the incident energy scaled by the Coulomb barrier ITB and obtained when continuous couplings are excluded from the calculation. So the significance of the continuous coupling on the breakup is also shown in the next figure here. One can notice that at deep sub-barrier energies, the continuous couplings serve to enhance the breakup, and breakup in the presence of these couplings is larger than in the absence of this coupling. That's shown by the difference here, when there is no continuous coupling with all couplings. So breakup plot as function of the incident energy. So the breakup cross-section is obtained by coherently including both Coulomb and nuclear interaction in the coupling battery element, which we call total Coulomb and nuclear breakup cross-section. The separation into the Coulomb part, Coulomb contribution with the nucleon is not easy task here. So this potential is obtained by folding the projectile. In our case here, we are folding the projectile ground state density with the projectile target potential. In this case, the Coulomb breakup cross-section is affected by the absorption in the elastic scattering channel due to the imaginary components of this potential. So similarly, the nuclear breakup cross-section were obtained by removing the core target Coulomb potential from the coupling matrix element, also keeping its monopole diagonal term in the elastic scattering channel. So we make both similar. No? So that we show how comes the Coulomb term, only Coulomb, in this way that we show here, and how come on the nuclear case here. As you see here the effect is very strong about the cross-section of the Coulomb here. Now. With all couplings, we have this result here. And without the CCC, the continuous coupling, we have this result here. So the nuance is quite a bit here. But in this case, it's the other way for the nuclear case. So all couplings, you have this result here, and without the coupling, this result here. That may be one of the bigger reasons that we have this result. Okay. So the Coulomb and the nuclear cross-section are shown in the figure at subbarrier energies. The Coulomb breakup cross-section is strongly enhanced by the continuum coupling. It was the first, here I show here, the first slide there. No? Okay, now I see. At the incident energies that at higher incident energy, the continuum couples would amount to a smaller effect in the Coulomb breakup cross-section. It has been shown that at higher incident energy, these couples have very small suppression effect on the Coulomb breakup cross-section. So in contrast to panel B, that we have this result here for the nuclear, we don't have the other effect. So this completely in contrast with that previous one. At energies above the barrier, the nuclear breakup cross-section is known to be strongly suppressed by these couplings compared with the Coulomb breakup. In fact, this suppression is reported as one of the main reasons why the Coulomb breakup is more important than the nuclear breakup in reaction involving heavy targets. Comparing the effect of continuous coupling on Coulomb and nuclear breakup cross-section, it follows that the enhancement of the total breakup at subbarrier energies due to this comes exclusively from the Coulomb breakup. Okay. So there's some preliminary conclusion that we have considering the lead here. Our present studies are confirming the importance of the breakup channel over the total fusion at energies deeply below the Coulomb barrier. As verified previously, results obtained with a proton Hall projectile on heavy targets can also be extended to the case we have a neutron Hall projectile. Although a detailed study may be required based on available investigation or experimental results, one can anticipate this conclusion as a kind of universal feature. So the enhancement of the Coulomb breakup cross-section at subbarrier energy by the continuous coupling is speculated to be associated with the projectile breakup on the outgoing trajectory, provided this coupling can be proven to be to delay the breakup process. So on the target mass dependence of the results, when considering lighter target, one can verify how far the result obtained with lead 208, be assumed being universal. For that, in this direction, we have recently investigated also the critical role of Coulomb interaction at subbarrier energy in the break of beryllium-11 on zinc target. Zinc is about 1/3 of the mass of the lead in that case. And the result we found are quite similar for the experimental data obtained from DiPietro et al. Here. Okay. Just I'm going to show just quickly here some of the results I have for the zinc also. So the role of the Coulomb interaction at subbarrier energy in the breakup of weakly bound neutron halo projectile on zinc target. So this calculation was repeated, first adjusting the potential to experimental data. That's some result that we have here for the angular distribution, okay, of the ratio between elastic scattering and Rutherford cross-section, and as function of center mass angle, and for the beryllium-zinc collision, without numerical result being compared with experimental data. And here are also compared with experimental data, after adjusting, of course, the potential as we did in the case of lead. As a function of that, we have the differential breakup cross-section, obtained from the calculation using unchanged neutron target optical potential. And these are also considering the convergence of our results, considering the epsilon maximum, the maximum energy here for the beam energies, that we go till 12 MeV and showing that practically very well convergent, the result obtained from calculations here. And the main result that we have that we can compare with the lead are these here, the total fusion cross-section and the breakup cross-section, where you see that the results are equivalent also for this case of where the mass is about 1/3 of the lead. Okay. So all couplings here including. And here also we have a comparison the same way without continuous coupling for both total fusion and breakup. Okay. And here with all coupling and with no CCC, the total fusion. Okay. So how we can obtain the total breakup cross-section? Plot as function of the incident energy scaled by the Coulomb barrier. So with all coupling, we have that result in red now. I think we changed the color here. And no CC is the other one that we showed that not in Janssen. It's the Janssen when we have all coupling. And these are separation that we did for the Coulomb part and the nuclear part. And just showing that in one case, for the nuclear here, they become almost close together here. That the coupling are not making any effect also in this region here. But the main effect is that part here at Coulomb. Okay. So with all couplings, we have that in red, and no continuous coupling is just a black one here. Okay. So this is the difference about one scale from here to here. Okay. So the consistency of the results across different targets can provide strong experimental validation for the theoretical frameworks that predict the dominance of Coulomb breakup at subbarrier energy. So our results indicate that the breakup dynamics of weakly bound nuclei at subbarrier energy could be predominantly governed by the Coulomb interaction. Verified for two independent targets, such behavior might be independent of the target mass. However, a systematic study with more samples, probably we need to confirm these results. Okay, thank you very much. Basically, that's what I have to say. Okay.
Thank you very much. So we have time for questions. Maybe I have a question. Yeah. So is there any effect coming, I don't know, from the polarization of this weakly bound system somehow since
this is not tested, in fact.
Okay, you didn't?
No.
You didn't consider it? Yeah.
No. At least so far as I know that we have not considered, unless some other works that the MOOC could have done without collaborating, we have considered, but as far as I know, not in this study that we did.
Mm-hmm. And if you go back to one of the last slides where you were showing the comparison with the experimental data by Di Pietro et al.
This case of zinc?
No, with the data, with the experimental. This was quite good. There was some worse fit. Can you go a bit? Okay, this one. Why here the agreement is not so good? I didn't get it.
This in case of zinc here is just an adjustment that we have with the data that provided by the that I gave before. I think I'm not giving this here, but it's in the paper there. That we use for the potential. That it needs to be maybe some more adjustment for that to thing exactly. Okay. You mean, but for example, some of them it comes quite nice here, but this one can come a bit shifted.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it is just shifted. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for this energy here.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have a question. Lubian?
Some comments, not questions.
Okay.
I think you could replace lead by bismuth
Bismuth.
overnight, and you will have data for this system first. The second thing is that the complete fusion that the fusion that comes from Fresco is wrong. This was pointed by Felipe Canto. So this is when you put potential that go to the surface, this an upper limit, and when you put only short range potential is a kind of lower. It's almost there, but not there. Your conclusion will not change because of that. You're only missing the sequential, the sequential complete fusion in these calculations. Or you will have, if you're calculating total, you have a double counting of the, so again, overestimating a little bit. And the other thing is you go lower, you will see that your conclusion changes. Because I have already
No, but
paper
what
to
you
show
mean, the
that.
conclusion about the...
Yes, you show that already at zinc you see the situation are changing, but if you go for lower target, the situation change.
I guess that there is some limit that the situation should change. We are just exploring to see how far we could go for the load. No?
We already, even for this system, we already have the results. So we have not calculated the continue, but just the effect of the breakup compared to the complete, how the complete fusion compares to the incomplete fusions. This kind of, so these results we already have. So maybe we can talk later.
Yeah, we can discuss about it because I don't know, for example, because we are looking for more data, for example, considering beryllium-11 particular, because we can compare the calculations that we did before also. Okay.
The boron 8 case we published recently. So when we take
boron 8. But it's a proton...
yes, you are talking here about neutron, but you were saying about the proton is already known. It's already known some examples. We did from the very heavy to the very light system, and we show how this situation changed in the case of...
Okay, thank you very much for the question.
So, is there any other question, comments? So, if not, we thank the two speakers. I think we have coffee break now. So we reconvene at 11. Is it good? So like 35 minutes?
Just 1 minute here. I just want to, I forgot just to make a propaganda here about something. Because our thematic here, they have a possibility of some postdoc. Our thematic in FAPESP. So if somebody is interested, I invite you to apply. Okay. Okay.
So half an hour, we come back at 10 to 11. Okay.
Mm-hmm.